According to the Beijing Times, an 18-year-old girl killed herself by jumping off a bridge on December the 3rd after net users searched for her online amidst theft allegations. Now, they began sniffing around following a post by a store owner in Lufeng, that's in Guangdong province, which called for a group effort to identify a girl who the owner alleged was a shoplifter. The young woman, a high school student named only as Titi, was exposed online, and despite pleading innocent, the subsequent public attention and humiliation apparently drove her to commit suicide. Human flesh search is a controversial type of online research, you could call it in China. It's usually carried out by a group, sometimes vast numbers of people, up to the millions, with the aim of identifying and exposing somebody for some particular reason. It has been hailed as successfully exposing dozens of corrupt officials. It's also been criticised for inciting a sort of cyber violence and contravening policy laws. In 2008, a 31-year-old woman killed herself after revealing in her blog that her husband, named Wang Fei, had cheated on her. And now net users then searched for Wang and his family and harassed them. Wang later sued several websites for mental damage compensation. Well, with this most recent example of the possibly tragic consequences of such online posses, do people in China's online community feel human flesh searches are a good thing or a bad thing? To find out how net users are reacting to it, let's go over now to our researcher, Esther Dang. Okay, Esther, obviously a tragedy that a young girl felt compelled to take her own life as a result of this. How could a mere online search have had such apparently devastating consequences?
Well, it seems human flesh searches have an almost limitless power in revealing personal information, and the attention and the public humiliation placed onto the targeted person can be devastating. Just 1 hour after the store owner called for the search, Qiti's name, school, address, and photos were all laid bare online, accompanied by many abusive messages to her. As Yang on iPhone.com says, human flesh searches put the subject into a world totally deprived of privacy. The attack is so severe that someone may lose the will to live. And 手心的那片云 argues, internet freedom doesn't mean revealing others' personal data freely. Yuan Yiwen on bjnews.com thinks, young people's mental adaptability and their capability to safeguard their legal rights should be improved. For example, Qiti could ask the website to delete the offensive posts and sue the shop owner for reputation infringement.
Well, she could if she were a particularly legally aware adult, I guess, and even then I have doubts as to how effective it might be. But leaving that aside for the moment, do net users generally seem to feel that the shop owner was justified in calling for this sort of search for a suspected, remember, just a suspected thief?
Well, there is certainly some controversy about whether the post sent by the shop owner was acceptable. This poster is against it, saying, Tsai is out of her mind to do this before uncovering the whole truth, and the victim was still only a student. And another poster on Sohu.com says, even if the girl did really steal, she's still entitled to her rights. Well, Lao Sao Taisheng seemed to have made up his or her mind. The girl should be exposed if she stole. Shouldn't this effort to catch a thief be allowed? Nobody should be held responsible if the thief commits suicide or self-harm. And this anonymous poster understands the owner's original intention. The police wouldn't even file a case for such petty theft. The shop owner would have had to suffer the loss if she hadn't resorted to this approach.
So what do net users think about those who assisted in this search and helped to target this young girl?
Well, there's no concerted view towards those followers either. Some posters don't see any problem, such as Li Rui Flower, who says, if a huge number of individual net users unite together to hunt one person, there's definitely something suspicious about this person. However, some of them see this vigilante approach as not on. For instance, Wu Longgui on Sina.com warns human flesh searches can lead to cyberbullying. He says, this is typical of cyber violence, irrational participation leading to impulsive verdict. Whoever declares themselves in charge can announce the judgment, which is often not based on the fact, but on a fake moral sense of upholding justice. And ironically, when the shop owner was arrested, she herself was put at the center of a human flesh search too, with her personal information also exposed and commented online.
Well, the official view seems pretty clear. Yo Jung-rong from the State Internet Information Office was quoted as saying that human flesh search engines are unethical, illegal, and should be prohibited. Would Chinese net users tend to support a ban on this activity?
Well, for most net users, human flesh searches still serve as an effective tool in exposing corruption, infidelity, and injustice, and the issues related to it can be resolved perfectly by a simple ban. This poster from Yunnan says, "There are both pros and cons here, like a double-edged sword. The key is how to use it." Another poster from Sichuan agrees. "A better management and proper guidance is what we expect. For example, someone shouldn't post a search call without sufficient evidence of wrongdoing, and net users should have their own judgment instead of blindly following others." Shu Yue on Sina.com uses the law as a barometer, saying, "There is a legal boundary for human flesh search, and it should not infringe on other people's lawful rights. Some people may consider it as public supervision and plead innocent. Then they can hand over the information to related law enforcement agencies instead of spreading it and placing the victims and their families in jeopardy." Finally, Lian Haiping has a feeling that in China, legal regulations on privacy protection are in their infancy, saying, "Our regulations on the internet and our civil laws do not have specific terms in fields such as human flesh search yet."
Okay, thank you for that, Esther. And that was China Take researcher Esther Dung with some online discussion there of the phenomenon of online human flesh search engines, those vast searches using huge resources and numbers of people to find out about a particular person online. Next up on China Take, some of the top trending phrases on China's most popular search engines.